Thank you for joining us today for this community webinar launching the vision for the core site and our public engagement. We've 40 minutes or so of presentation ahead of us, and the rest of the time will be available for your feedback and questions. The session is being recorded to go for sharing on our website, but it will be stopping when we end the presentation and move on to questions. Let me start with some introductions. I am Frances Wright, Head of Community Partnering for Developer Town. I'm supporting the community engagement for the core site. I live in Orchard Park and have a personal interest in what happens on the core site in that context. Martin, can I pass briefly to you to introduce yourself, and then if you can pass the baton on to Johnny, then Mike, and then Lorenza to introduce themselves.
Yeah, thank you, Francis. Hello, everybody. I'm Martin Evans. I'm a director of U&I. We are the development company in partnership with Town, who are partnering with Cambridge City Council and Anglian Water to develop the core site. Johnny.
Yeah. Hi, everyone. I'm Johnny, one of the founding directors of Town. As Martin says, we're partnered with U&I as master developers on this project. Over to Lorenza.
Hi everyone, my name is Lorenza Cassini and I'm the project lead from Urbed. We are the master planners and urban design on the core site.
Thank you. As we go through the presentation, please feel free to post your reactions and suggestions into the chat for the panelists to read and make a note of afterwards. We'd like to hear what you think, both what you like and what you think we need to improve. Please can you post any questions you have in the Q&A as they arise for you, and we'll pick up as many of those questions as we can at the end of the presentation. So we're going to start now with representatives from Cambridge City Council and Anglian Water, who will introduce themselves and then lead off on the presentation for us. So if I can pass to Fiona to start, please.
Good evening and welcome. I'm Fiona Bryant. I'm Director of Enterprise and Sustainable Development at Cambridge City Council. I'm the lead officer for the North East Cambridge programme for the City Council, and I'm a partner, one of the partners with Anglian Water in the joint venture developing the core site. I'm going to hand over to John to introduce himself and set the scene.
Thank you, Fiona, and hello everyone. My name is John Corman. I am the Group Property Director for Anglian Water, and I'm very closely involved with both the project to relocate our existing wastewater treatment plant and the project we are here to talk about today, the redevelopment of what we call the core site, the catalyst for the regeneration of North East Cambridge. My job this evening is to set the scene in 2 slides before handing over to U&I and Town, our chosen master developer. First slide, please. And a bit of orientation. On the left-hand side, we have a map showing the North East Cambridge Area Action Plan, or NECAP for short. And on the right-hand side, we have an overhead photograph of the core site edged in green. The core site makes up around 25% of the total AAP area. By way of explanation, the AAP is the planning framework within which we will eventually bring forward our planning applications. The AAP is the responsibility of the Greater Cambridge Shared Planning Service. It covers land in both South Cambridgeshire District Council and Cambridge City Council, and any planning application will be determined by a joint planning committee. Following extensive public consultation, the AAP has achieved Reg 19 approval from both councils. The AAP itself sits within the emerging Greater Cambridge local plan that recognises the core site as a preferred option in enabling sustainable economic and housing growth for the whole of Greater Cambridge. Turning to the core site, as Fiona said, the land is owned by the City Council and Anglian Water. Together we have formed a joint venture and struck a partnership with U&I and Town to promote and deliver its regeneration. It extends to about 48 hectares, or just under 120 acres in old money, and currently is home to Anglian Water's existing wastewater treatment plant, the council depot on the old Park and Ride site, offices and a golf driving range. Once the current wastewater treatment works is relocated, we have a great opportunity to put new homes next to new and existing jobs with great connectivity. We have the new Cambridge North Station, just to the south of the site. The guided busway runs past, and we have excellent walking and cycling routes to the city centre, surrounding residential and employment areas, and to the open countryside and more rural settlements north of the A14. This is truly one of the most sustainable locations I've come across in my long property career. Surrounding the core site and within the AOP are some equally important sites: the Science Park, St John's Innovation Park and Cambridge Business Park, and also some very important users such as Stagecoach. Brookgate is also looking to put more new homes and employment space on land around the station. We are talking to them all, as we need to be joined up at the edges for this to be truly a comprehensive regeneration. And tonight is very exciting, as it is one of our first opportunities to start a conversation with real people, the residents of Greater Cambridge. Next slide, please. Some of the names you will hear a lot this evening and in future conversations appear on this slide. Cambridge City Council and Anglian Water. Our partnership is more than just a conventional landowners JV. The Council's long-held ambition to see the regeneration of North East Cambridge and address the ever-increasing housing shortage and affordability gap, indeed, in and around Cambridge is aligned to Anglian Water's wider purpose of bringing social and environmental prosperity to our region. We both have ambitious targets on achieving net zero carbon and increasing biodiversity. We share a commitment to open and transparent communication. We both wish to see an exemplar development. Homes England. Homes England provided the grant to relocate our existing wastewater treatment plant. This unlocks the core site and creates a viable regeneration opportunity. We have agreed with Homes England that the additional value that the residential planning consent creates is a direct result of the grant. And quite rightly, the vast majority of this will be recycled for investment in further new homes. Cambridge and Peterborough Combined Authority, the original sponsor of this opportunity and the recipient of the recycled funds. And finally, you and I in town. We ran an OJU competition and talked to a lot of interested parties, but why did they come out on top? Their understanding and enthusiasm for our brief shone through. Their track record of creating beautiful and sustainable new places was evident, and their commitment to open and far-reaching public engagement and consultation aligned with our vision. That's it for me, so thank you, and over to Martin.
Thanks, John. As I said before, I'm Martin Evans. I'm a director of U&I. We're a mixed-use regeneration property development company, and together with our friends at town, we are partners with Cambridge City Council and Anglian Water as developers of the core site that we're here talking about today. U&I develops land much like the core site in a number of places elsewhere in the UK, in London, in Brighton and in Manchester. And the picture you can see on your screen now is of our project in Manchester. It's called Mayfield, and it's 25 acres of land right in the centre of the city next to Piccadilly, which is Manchester's main railway station. There we're building a whole new part of the city, including a 7-acre public park, up to 2,000 homes, enough office space to house 13,000 people, and all of the food, drink and shopping that they need. This project, whilst big, is considerably smaller than our site there in Cambridge, as John said, but it gives you some idea of how we approach this kind of development. As we're in the business of developing new parts of cities, we're obsessively interested in how they will be successful when they're completed. Our measure of success is how good they are as places to live, work and relax in. And to do this, we need to understand the communities intimately around where we plan to build. We need to do our market research. And that's the process that you're engaging with now, right at the start of our work here in Cambridge, and it'll play out over the coming months as we start to develop our plans. Johnny will talk to you a little later about that timeline and what opportunities there will be for you to join in so that we can hear all of your views. Our role at the course site, along with Town, is to be the master developer. That means that on behalf of our partners at the City Council and at Anglian Water, we make the proposals for how the site will be developed. We're responsible for all the public consultation around that process and for developing the planning applications we will need in order to be able to build. We're partners for the long term on this project, and we will be the development faces that you will see most often as we progress the project forward. And now Johnny is going to tell you a little bit about their role as Town.
Thanks, Martin. Yeah, as I said before, I'm one of the two founding directors of Town. Our company has a mission, which is to create good places for better living. And that involves making places that enhance people's quality of life and their well-being, that places that help protect the environment, and also that have a positive impact, we hope, on the wider communities that they're part of. I should say that we know Cambridge quite well. The scheme on the picture in front of you is called Marmalade Lane, and that's Town's first built project in Cambridge in a park, which is quite close to the core site. My colleague Francis, who you met before, is one of the residents of Marmalade Lane. And between 2015 and 2019, we worked quite closely with future residents of that project to jointly design the scheme and to deliver the 42-home co-housing community that exists today. So since 2018, we've been working really closely alongside Martin and his colleagues at UNI in the early stages of thinking about what the core site might become in the future. And we're really looking forward to working with you as a local community to help shape this place over the coming years. Back to you, Martin.
Thank you, Johnny. We're at a very early stage in our development plans. This is the first opportunity we have had to engage with anyone in the communities around the core site. And what we've been doing up to now is setting some outline ambitions for the project together with our landowner partners. So as John said right at the beginning, the total size of our site there in northeast Cambridge is 48 hectares, just short of 120 acres. On that piece of land, we think we can deliver around 5,600 new homes in a mix of types and tenures. And that's the ambition that we will be setting our architects, and Lorenzo will talk to you a little bit later in this meeting about the beginnings of that thinking about how we are able to do that. We've made a commitment that 40% of those homes will fall into the affordable category, although we've yet to determine the mix in terms of social rent and shared ownership and other types of tenures that fall under that category. Our site will be mixed-use development, like most that we build, which means that even though it will be predominantly residential, we will be building some commercial property and including all of the infrastructure and other uses in our scheme that will service a large new residential development in what we call our 5-minute neighbourhood. And Lorenzo will talk to you a little more about that as we move through the presentation. We've also committed to designing and building this as a net zero carbon scheme, and we'll be setting out how we'll achieve that in detail as our design proposals emerge. Back to Johnny.
Yeah, I just wanted to give you a bit of an overview of our programme and a bit of context as to what this event forms part of. So we've been starting to engage with local people, and last year we started to talk to local organisations across Cambridge and around. And we spoke with a number of organisations of all different sorts, including local campaign groups, volunteer organisations, business groups, residents associations. And today's event is very much a continuation of that process, where we open it up to the wider public and start to hear people's views. And we're very much here to listen to your thoughts and aspirations and suggestions about the future of the core site. We've designed the programme to have phases of consultation, like the one that we're engaged with in this evening, interchanged with phases of design. And the idea behind that approach is that we share our ideas with the local community, listen to people's views and aspirations, and then we digest them, take them away, and sort of really learn from those lessons as we go into detailed design work. And that's what we'll be doing. Having heard your thoughts over the coming months, we'll be starting to pull together some proper design proposals to share with you later this year. So we'll be coming back later this year to show you more detailed proposals. We'll have questions to ask you, no doubt, and we'll be wanting to hear your thoughts and your feedback on the work in progress at that stage. And then what we learn from you at that stage will in turn follow we'll learn from it and pick up the points through the subsequent stages of more detailed design. And the basic idea is that each time we go through this circular process, the proposals will become more detailed and hopefully more refined and in tune with what we hear from local people about what they would like to see here. So that's where we are in the process. We'd like to just talk to you a bit about what the vision for the project is. I should say to start with that we're very conscious that lots of projects have vision statements or charters. They don't always mean much. Often they're a little bit kind of PR focused, and very often they're not delivered. We're really determined here that the vision for the project here won't be just words. We really want it to actually drive the way we make decisions about the project, and in a way for it to become the compass of the project that will help us to navigate over the years up to planning, application, and subsequently through the delivery stages. So the vision for the project takes the form of 3 promises and 6 values, and the 3 promises are to people, to city, and to planet, and that idea is very much at the heart of the project. So the first promise is to people, and that is that the scheme will support the health, happiness, and well-being of the people who will live, work, and otherwise spend time here. The second promise is to the city. And the promise here is that this project will be an integral new part of Cambridge, a new quarter of the city, taking inspiration from Cambridge, engaging with the citizens' present needs and helping shape the future of the city locally and at global scale. And then the final of our 3 promises is to the planet. And here the promise is that the core site will be an exemplar for development, fit for the challenges of the 21st century, enabling sustainable lifestyles, enhancing nature, and accelerating the transition to a net zero carbon world. So those 3 promises resonate all through the project, and they're really central to our approach and our ethos. And sitting beneath those 3 promises, we have 6 values. And if the promises are what we're going to do, the values really describe how we're going to go about doing it. So over the next few slides, I'm just going to give a short overview of those values and invite you to share any thoughts or suggestions in the chat, or otherwise write to us or contact us via the website. So the first of our 6 values is that this project will be shaped by many, and that's exactly what we're engaged in this evening, and the process that this event is part of. We want to work with as many local people as possible as proposals are being developed, and I guess it's our belief that a good place that meets the needs and requirements of many people is only going to be effective if it's shaped in its planning and its delivery by many people. It will also be shaped by many people as it's being built through involving different kinds of developers, large, small developers with particular specialisms, even community-based developers. And it will carry on being shaped by many even after the delivery stage is out of the way, in that we want to create a place that empowers its residents to take control over the place that they live in and to continue to shape it over time. Our second value is called Rooted in Cambridge, and here we want to be a real place. We don't want it to be a housing estate without any supporting facilities that kind of could be anywhere, just plonked onto the edge of the city. We want it to feel as though it's a really genuine part of the city that is valued by other residents across the city, that reflects the architecture of the place, its traditions, cultures, and plays a really active and valuable role in meeting the needs of the city as a whole and the wider area as a whole. And the idea of rootedness isn't just about architecture and so on. It's also about the way that people feel about their place, and we want it to be a place where people can put down roots, that they can know their neighbours, they can shop locally, and really have the sense that they belong here. The third of our values is called Open to All. It's a really easy thing to say. It actually involves doing things radically differently sometimes, because it's about creating a place that's open and welcoming to people of all ages, creating homes that for people as they're starting out, and also places that they can move to within the same neighbourhood if their circumstances change, if they grow older, or they need different space at different stages of their lives. But it also means creating homes that are affordable to people in all sorts of different financial circumstances. And we're really aware that Cambridge has an unequal distribution of wealth today, and that there is a real need for new affordable housing in and around the city. And we need to think carefully about the kind of mix of homes that will help to meet the needs of people at the local level. And finally, it also means creating a place that is diverse and welcoming to people of all different cultures and backgrounds, and that's what we intend to do here. The fourth of our values is called street life, and that's about streets and other spaces between the buildings, which are actually in many ways more important than the buildings themselves. At Town, and I think at UNI, we see streets as the lifeblood of a place. We want them to do much more here than just providing spaces for cars to park in or to drive around. We want to make streets into the opportunity for other kinds of activity to take place, such as for people to eat and drink together, for children to play, for walking, cycling, and for planting and nature and the encouragement of biodiversity. Our fifth value is called integrated with nature, and that involves bringing landscaping and green space into the scheme, introducing nature and biodiversity, and offering people who live here and who visit here a first-hand experience of nature in their daily lives, which we know all the evidence says supports people's well-being in a really meaningful way. But it also means looking at natural solutions to some of the challenges that we might face with the project, which might involve the way we build, what we build out of, how we manage our buildings in terms of heat, shading, and so on to prevent overheating, even how we manage, use and store water. All of these might have lessons that we can take on board from the natural world. And then lastly, our sixth value is about living within our environmental needs. We really recognise that there's a very clear limit to all sorts of different resources, whether it's energy, waste, water, even land as a resource. And those limits are real, and we have to work within them. So our aim here is to create a place that enables people to have a really good quality of life, but recognising that they have to do that within the limits of the resources that we have available. So that's a quick overview of the values that underpin our vision. We'd love to hear more from you. If you have thoughts or comments about them, please get in touch. I'm going to hand over to Lorenza now, who's going to talk a little bit about how those values and how the vision of the project starts to come to life in design terms and in reality.
Thanks, Johnny. And hi, everyone. I'm just going to introduce a little bit about URBED first. And we are the master planners and the urban designers for the core site. And URBED stands for Urbanism, Environment and Design. And those are core values and core ethos that we have embedded throughout our work. And we are based in Manchester, but work across the country and have been established for 40 years. Just as Johnny explained a little earlier on the slide of how we work, at URBED we have developed over this time, the last 40 years, quite a lot of participation tools that we use with all our projects. And we really include stakeholder engagement throughout the design thinking from the very beginning to the very end. And for us, it's incredibly important also how the design discussions from this engagement work really inform what we do and how we think, and the master planning that comes out of it. We also believe in going to communities and set up workshops and discussions in the places that we're working in. So we're really looking forward to hopefully meeting a lot of you in the next upcoming engagements, also the ones that are going to be in person. As I mentioned at the beginning, I am the project lead from URBED, so you'll be seeing hopefully a lot of me as well. And I'm supported by my colleagues that you can see on the slide here, Kat Wong, who's a consultant and urban designer, and David Rudlin, who's our principal, and he's also an urban designer. I'm going to run you through a number of slides that try to express some of the initial thinking behind urban design rules that can start to relate to the vision and values that Johnny has just explained. The first slide, what is trying to illustrate is that what we did to begin with is to familiarize ourselves with the location and context of the core site and what makes it really unique, the particular boundaries with the A14 to the north and the railway line with Cambridge North Station to the east, together with the neighbours within the Area Action Plan, the AAP, that John mentioned at the beginning, as well as understanding the many incredible green and blue assets that are to the northeast, such as the River Cam and the Fenlands area as well. So for us at the moment, what we're really trying to do is to situating ourselves in the site and understanding the area and the wider area as much as possible. The next slide then talks about embracing the constraints. We know already that we have quite a number of constraints that we'll be needing to tackle, but we have really interest in turning these constraints in very positive actions as well. So we have begun having important conversations with Anglian Water relocation team, understanding how the infrastructure will develop and the likely key routes to connect to the new site, as well as aspects such as the pylons and the overhead electrical lines, the A14, and as I mentioned, the railway to the east. And yes, we really are very much committed to turning these constraints into positive urban design drivers. And we try to capture these in the slide to show you how we're framing them. The next slide then looks at connections, movement and flows. We want to create a place where cycling and walking are supported and they are prioritized above any other modes of transport. We really wish for the scheme to minimize car use and car ownership. And in order to do so, we want to provide fantastic alternatives. And again, all of this really taps into the values that Johnny was mentioning a moment ago. We really see it as an asset for the site to connect to what's around it, but also enable nearby communities to connect beyond it and into the city centre. We're very keen that the site is opened up and more permeable, not only for the people that will live, work, study and play in the site, but also, yes, the nearby communities that can use it to connect back into the city centre and in other areas. The next slide then talks about distinctive neighbourhoods. And as Martin mentioned earlier, the target for this project is around 5,600 homes. And we believe that this provides an opportunity to create key distinctive neighbourhoods. From experience, we know that neighbourhoods around 2,000 homes can create a really good, strong critical mass to support the amenities that can turn in support community life as well. And therefore, we want to really organize and develop and design the neighborhoods in distinctive ways. So if you live, work, play in each neighborhood, they will feel very unique to themselves. Lastly, but very importantly, is understanding the ecosystems. And we have already on our team a brilliant Dutch landscape architecture firm from Rotterdam, and they bring some fantastic European thinking about how we integrate ourselves as people and into nature, and how we can work in symbiosis together. We have shown arrows that connect beyond the site, picking up other elements of connectivity. And I just want to reassure everyone that we have already good knowledge that there are pressures around the Milton Country Park, and we're being sensitive to understand the delivery and requirements of green open spaces within the site itself. The very last slide that I'm talking you through is then bringing together the different aspects and the urban moves for these diagrams that is trying to really begin to bring the 6 steps in terms of reflecting the values and how we can get excited about the opportunities that they can bring. And the very final slide is actually talking very much about the concept of a 5-minute neighborhood that we want to explore as well. We have created a diagram that tries to illustrate an initial approach on how we are thinking about this concept of a 5-minute neighborhood. And we use 5 minutes as a proxy. I just want to be really clear about that, because we all know that how we enjoy and move through space and time is very personal. But equally, the 5-minute neighborhood is trying to illustrate that by creating places whereby living, studying, working and playing is rich with facilities and amenities that support a high quality of life in the community level. And the diagram is trying to give a flavor of the kinds of elements that will make up that neighborhood. In the housing, we really want to explore and see variety of house types and tenures provided and supported by communities, facilities such as schools, libraries, cafes, and elements you would expect to be in a good neighborhood. And we are also taking a lot of inspirations from Northern European cities. So that level of understanding of good urban design is also positively influencing already our thinking. So I hope that this has given you an insight into how we are beginning to explore and understand the project. And I'm now going to hand back over to Martin. Thank you.
Thank you, Lorenza. This slide shows the extent of the core scheme in pink. As John set out earlier, the timeline for delivery on this project is quite long. And by the time the area action plan has been delivered, the wastewater treatment plant has a new home and we've submitted our own planning application. And we want to be able to move as fast as we can though. And so we've identified an opportunity for us to realise a part of this project early. The orange section at the bottom of the picture is an area that we believe we can start to build on in advance of all those constraints that I've just listed. We will be coming back for consultation later in the year on a proposal to build a predominantly commercial scheme on this small site. It will give us an opportunity to get cracking as quickly as possible, to put a stake in the ground in terms of quality and place, and to start to make a connection between the predominantly residential scheme on the rest of the site and the commercial and science developments to the south and to the west. The dark pink area to the bottom on the right there is somewhere where we can begin to occupy the site even earlier than that. We're planning what's known as a meanwhile use on that site, on that small site, as quickly as we can. We've already been in consultation with the City Council and our partners about building a temporary community on that site that will start to bring some life to this currently unoccupied place. We're discussing the possibility of putting maybe an organic, sustainable food distribution hub there, perhaps a small factory to explore the possibility of building with modern methods of construction that we might then be able to use on the wider site as we bring our plans forward, and some innovation workspaces. All of these will give us an opportunity to create some jobs, at least on our site immediately. If we flick to the next slide, Ollie, here's a quick sketch of what that might begin to look like. Next slide, Ollie, please. And this is a place where we've already done something like this quite successfully. So these pictures show a scheme that we have in Shepherd's Bush in West London, where we installed a community of small science-based startups on a site that had sat derelict for a number of years. It's basically a community of small businesses sitting in a series of shipping containers around a central courtyard. It'll be some time before formal development starts here on this site. And so what you see here in these pictures is a really great opportunity to create immediately a sense of commercial community on the site as quickly as possible, to create some jobs and to start to encourage people to think about that place as a place of enterprise and industry and not just a dead and empty piece of land that serves no purpose at all. Lorenza talked to you about how this concept of the 5-minute neighbourhood that's driving our early thinking about the master plan will apply here in North East Cambridge on our core site. And we made a little film to explain it properly, and we can show it to you now. Great. I'm going to just hand back to Johnny for the last part of the presentation this evening, who will talk you through the timeline of this phase of our project and explain better how you can engage with us so that we can listen to your views. Johnny.
Yeah, thanks, Martin. Yeah, we're coming to the closing stages of our presentation, so we just wanted to offer you a little bit of an idea about what comes next in our process. So this is very much the launch event. It's the beginning of a much longer process of engagement that is going to continue from here on over months and even years. And that's going to involve over the coming months. We're going to be doing various activities, including a programme of work with schools to find out what school children would like to see in their 5-minute neighbourhoods and to have on their doorstep. We are also going to be actively engaging with groups of people who might not usually have a voice at this stage of a planning process. And as we get to September, we'll be coming back with a design festival that we're calling the People, City, Planet Festival, and we hope that you'll come along to that. It's an opportunity for people to participate in the process, to meet members of the team, to sit down with Lorenza and her colleagues in the design team to talk about the proposals and to help shape them directly, and hopefully to have some fun, to listen to music and to to really get involved. We very much hope that you'll be along for that, and we'll be advertising it to provide more details about it later on in the year. We're also going to be undertaking further design and engagement work through 2023, with the aim of being in a position to submit a planning application in 2024. And if we meet that time frame, then the first homes could be built or started to be built around 2026 onwards, with the first people able to move in 2028. So hopefully that gives you an idea of the overall time frame for the project. Obviously, as you can see, we're starting to talk to people very early on in that process, but we as a team really believe that early engagement is really crucial, and will be very much part of the focus of the project as we go through each of the design phases. So thanks very much to everybody for coming along to the webinar. We would like to leave you with the website, which is called coresitecambridge.co.uk. It's a bit more than just a website. It does provide you with news and information and lots of up-to-date information about the project, but it's also a place for you to tell us your ideas, thoughts, concerns, suggestions, as Francis alluded to at the beginning. It's the focus of what we're asking you on the website at the moment is what you would like to see in your ideal 5-minute neighbourhood. But as we go through the project, there'll be lots of other questions that go onto the website, and we'll want to hear all sorts of different things from you. We'd have loved to do this session in person, but it hasn't really been possible because as we were leading through the planning stages for this stage of work, the COVID and specifically Omicron was looming large. So that's why we're doing this online this evening rather than in person. But there will be opportunities to see one another in reality. We've got some pop-up road shows popping up over the coming weeks in different parts of Cambridge and around. And we can't give you firm dates and times for those yet because they're weather dependent, but the best way to find out about those is to follow the website, or to follow our social media profiles at You and I and at Town to find out where and when we're going to be, if you'd like to come along and say hi and find out more about the project in person. And I should just say, the project isn't always going to be called the Core Site. That's a temporary name, and we will be coming back in coming months to engage with you and other members of the community about what this future place might eventually be called. And we'd really like you to get involved in that when the time comes. So thanks again for coming along this evening. We really appreciate the time, and we're looking forward to reading your suggestions and to answering your questions this evening. Thanks, Francis.
Thank you.